Joining me for this, we have Ayodeji Samuel, associate at Block Law Consulting, joining me via Zoom. Definitely regulation, I guess that's, great, for an asset class that's, is still quite young, even though it's over 10 years now. And, digital assets, we're going to get some clarity right here in Nigeria. Talk to me, though, about, the legal side of things. 1 year after regulation started there, how are you seeing, what trends are you seeing in the legal side of things in Nigeria when it comes to digital assets?
All right. So I said that the regulatory landscape for digital assets in Nigeria has been evolving. And what started from the government stance, which was cautionary, prohibitive, at some point we had institutional fragmentation where it was not clear whether it was the Central Bank of Nigeria that was exercising control over the space or whether it was the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now we have moved to a phase where we are already developing our own digital asset rules. But there are some questions that we need to ask if you truly want to review this landscape. One of the first questions is for us to look at is, are these laws actually effective? How effective are these laws? Then we have to look at whether these laws truly reflect the reality of the Nigerian digital asset market. And lastly, the most important one is whether they are promoting innovation or they are pushing innovation underground. It would surprise you to know that I cannot answer any of these questions in the affirmative so far, because when you look at some of the regulations that we have, for instance, the ARIP framework, that's the Accelerated Incubatory Program that the SEC set up last year, which was meant to bring on board virtual asset service providers to the digital asset space, where the SEC was is trying to regulate the capital market. You will discover that when you check the regulations that was issued earlier this year, and that was the amendment to the Digital Issuance Act regulation that was made earlier this year, you will discover that the capital requirement for virtual asset providers is outrageous. You have capital requirements ranging from 500 million to 1 billion. This is excluding the registration fees that range from a minimum of 30 million to 100 billion. What is going to be the effect of this on the long run? It is going to push innovation underground, because they have not put into consideration indigenous startups, indigenous Web3 projects who are trying to make way in this digital asset landscape. And of course, while still reflecting on these laws, we cannot but mention the Investment and Securities Act of 2025. Of course, many has praised SEC for trying to develop our own digital asset rule. But if you critically examine this legislation, you will discover that what SEC has just done is to show that they have regulatory oversight over the digital asset market space. Because when you look at the regulation, you will discover that Nigeria is the first country in the entire world to categorically say that all digital assets and virtual assets are securities. And they claim that this will bring regulatory clarity and, of course, investment, the protection of the investors. But it will surprise you to know that all of this is just in theory. When they say regulatory clarity, when you look at robust framework like the MiCA, Genius Act and Clarity Act, you will discover that this legislation always balance two trends. That is the investment nature of digital currencies and the functional-based approach of digital currencies. What Nigerian SEC has done is just to pay attention on the investment side of digital assets while ignoring the functional part.
And do you think that's under the SEC's purview to also look at the functional side, of it there? You mentioned the investment side, because I know obviously the SEC, they're interested in, investment at this point. Does that still fall with them, if you're looking at functionality and on the tech?
Exactly. They have not put into consideration the functional side of digital currencies, because by saying that all digital currencies are now security, what they are saying is that they are going to apply traditional securities obligations and compliance to all digital assets, it means that your token, your utility tokens, your governance tokens, stablecoin, everything will come under the same legal category. And this would not in any way promote innovation, because it's just, let me give by way of analogy, it's just like going to the market and you make a regulation that all products and goods you find in the market will be described as food. That is ridiculous. That is the same approach this Nigerian SEC has taken with regards to the issue of token classification in Nigeria. And also, they always talk about investment protection. Of course, they want to maintain the market integrity, but then again, there are some questions you need to ask in light of the realities of the market. Let me draw your attention back to 2021, when CBN decided to issue a circular and they decided to ban all commercial banks from dealing with cryptocurrency. When market participants perceive this regulation as though there was a total and complete ban on cryptocurrency. And what happened? Market participants decided to start going into decentralized P2P, peer-to-peer markets. Now, SEC is about taking the same route and committing this same error, because